Alright, welcome back one last time. It's about time to conclude the saga of Myst, and we've completed all of the original Ages of Myst, and now we just have to do one last stretch. So, before we get into that, I wanted to introduce the game menu. There wasn't really a game menu in the original version of Myst, so it contains your admittedly limited number of saves here, basic interface details here and here, and about realMyst. If you click that, you get the closing credits, where you can learn the names of all the people who contributed to this remarkable game. So with that in mind, let's dive on in and begin again. So as of now, I've just returned from the Selenetic Age with the blue page. So the red page is already in the book and ready to go. So I'll add the blue page in a second. As you go through the game and add pages, I haven't shown you this up till now, but just so you know, the image of either Cirrus in the blue book or Cirrus in the red book or Akinar in the blue book gets clearer, and you get to hear just a little bit more of them comes through all the static. And it's a very exciting way of building up, because you're hearing snatches of their testimony of how they came to be trapped in those books, what happened to these burned books, what happened to their mysterious father, who we presume to be Atris. And it's a very effective way to sort of increase the sense of your investigating, because that way you're having to take what little you can extrapolate from what they're saying, what you can hear of them, and apply to the other clues you encounter through the ages. Now, those videos you can watch as many times as you like, but the next one that you see after you've added all of the pages from all of the Ages of Myst, you will only be able to see once. After that, if you open the books again, it'll be them sort of telling you to get a move on and do what they told you to do. So with that in mind, let's see what exactly it is they're telling us to do. Oh, by the way, before we dive in here, make sure that when you're watching these videos, especially with these ones, to keep the cursor still, because if you drift too far off to the side, it will disengage, close the book, and jump you back into just being able to move around the game world. So that's something to keep an eye on. I've had some trouble with that in the past. Alright, so let's hear what they have to say for themselves. So we'll start with Akinar in the blue book.
Hello, I'm Akinar. I'm glad to see that you've returned to help me escape from my wrongful imprisonment. It was Cirrus who did this to me. Cirrus, my wicked brother. Do not listen to him. I warn you. He's a liar. Do not be persuaded by his evil lies. Not release him. He killed my father. He will kill you. It began when my brother Cirrus began to lust for riches. He stole from the Ages of Myst. He hoarded riches for himself. My father slipped away his watchfulness. My sick brother secretly pronounced himself king. King of the Ages of Myst, he said. He began to look upon me in disgust. His lowly brother. He did him. And then Cirrus began to destroy the Ages of Myst. He burned their forest. He tore down their structures. He flooded their lands. He murdered their inhabitants. He destroyed all but 4 of the Ages. Of course, I had to warn Father. When I finally found him, there was Cirrus also, talking cleverly. The lying tongue of a serpent. He had convinced Father that it was I who destroyed the Ages. He convinced Father that it was I who was greedy for wealth and plunder. And as Cirrus dealt the final blow, he tricked Father into believing that I was the murderer. But Cirrus did not deal as fast a blow as he planned. And his father died a slow death He at last doubted my brother's clever lies, and so in dying, Father imprisoned us both. Unsure from which of us the blow had come. I swear to you what I say is true. Release me. You must release me. My brother is a deceitful liar and deserves punishment. I only wish vengeance for my dear father. His murder. Believe me. You must only recover one additional page to release me from this prison. It's the easiest to find. Go to the bookshelf. It's in this library. On the far right side of the middle shelf, there's a burned book, which is different from the other burned books. This book is filled with patterns. Find pattern 158. Mimic its design on the panel in the fireplace. Doing this will bring you to the last blue page. Remember, don't take the red page. Only the blue page. Return quickly to me. And do not touch the green book. It's a clever trap to imprison those who have not been warned. Do not be tempted, for you will rot and die, imprisoned as I am. I tell you, if you follow my instructions, it will be well worth your while. I promise you that. Go. Go.
So, there we have Akinar's version of events. Disengage from that. Oh, he seems like a well-adjusted type, doesn't he? Alright, in the same spirit, let's see what Sirius's side of the story is like.
You finally returned. I owe you a debt of gratitude, for you have nearly released me. My name is Sirius. I trust that from your explorations you've become convinced that my wicked brother Akinar is guilty, and I am innocent. It is I who am wrongly imprisoned here. Imprisoned by my father. I don't know who you are, or how you came to this island, but I assume you must at least know something of the books. It was father who was a master of the books. He wrote hundreds, all describing and linking to the fantastic places and ages which he had discovered. The room in which you now stand was our father's library. It was here in this room, on this island named Myst, that he housed most of these books. But such a waste. By now, you have surely discovered that Akinar has burnt and mutilated most of these books. Why? Our father was always watchful of our exploration. We grew up under his strict supervision. But when we came of age, he gave us unbridled access to the Myst books. He began to leave our adventures more and more unchecked. Unsupervised as we were, my brother began to become disturbed. He began to take more from the Myst ages than he had given. Soon he gained a twisted pleasure from the conquest and destruction of the other ages. It was horrific. This thirst for destruction. But alas, even I discovered his insanity too late. He had completely destroyed all of the Myst ages but 4. I wasted no time. In warning my father, I thought he would recognize Akinar's guilt. But in a fit of rage, he imprisoned both my brother and myself within the pages of these books, designed to hold us until he could judge which of us was guilty. To discover the truth, our father embarked on one final journey. However, he has never returned. I can only assume that he perished along the way, leaving me, an innocent victim, trapped forever. But now, you are here to release me. Listen carefully. You must find one more page and I will be forever free. There is a book on the shelves. This library, which is mostly burned, but has a few pages still intact. It is the last book on the middle shelf. Find it. This book is filled with a variety of patterns. Find pattern 158 and recreate it on the door of the fireplace. This will bring you to the last red page. Bring that page to me, and I will finally be released, and able to reward you, of course. Ignore the blue page. That page finishes my brother's book. Chills me to even think what would happen if you were to release him. There is another warning. Where the red and blue pages reside, also resides a green book. If you touch the green book, you also will be imprisoned forever. Our father gave us this same warning long ago. I suggest you follow his advice. Go now. Soon we will meet face to face.
And there we have it. It's got two versions of events here. Not terribly reliable. They're both blaming each other for the state of affairs who found the Ages of Myst in, deserted of their inhabitants, and all these books burned. It's the point where you realize, as the realization really hits you, that a lot of these are linking books, or were linking books, and other extraordinary worlds that we don't get to visit now, which is too bad. Well, let's move forward. The path that we see available to us right now, which is to do what they said and find pattern 158. So you can just flip through the book at the end of the middle shelf there. Now, don't worry, there isn't like patterns 1 through 157 aren't all in here, so it won't take you too long, but you can just sort of click and hold, which I'm doing right now, to fast forward to where you want to be. Whoop, a little too far there. I think it started skipping them by 10s. I don't think it'll do that. Alright, there we go. So, again, this is one of those situations where you might want a bit of graph paper or just a pen and paper, depending on how steady your drawing hand is, which mine isn't very. Just to remember that. This is a lot of this stuff I can do from memory, but this bit not so much. Alright, so we're going to just move over to the fireplace here. I remember first playing the game, we were primarily inclined, if we'd had to choose between them, to believe Cirrus, if only because he seems like the more well-adjusted of the two, i.e. he doesn't have rooms in every age full of poison and torture influence, but then again, we also have seen that he has some rather unsavory personal habits, so just hit that red button on the side there to engage the panel, and you just click to create the pattern. I remember at the time we were first playing this game when we were kids, we didn't have, we were, when this is one of the first things we found, and so we were wondering for the longest time, what the heck is this and what is it for? So it was part of the cool factor of the Myst games, was that you start out not knowing how everything fits together. And the sequence in which you might encounter these things makes the mystery build up in a very unpredictable way. It's a lot of fun. Just keep going along here. All right. It really the effect that you get really that I've always thought is that you have the feeling that you're on the cusp of something much bigger than yourself, that you're arriving after major events have already happened. The sense of being an outsider, if you'll pardon the pun, really drives home the mystique and mystery of Myst. So that's it's a great atmosphere that it gives the story. Alright, so that should be the pattern complete and ready to go. If it isn't, it'll just open up again when you hit the red button, but it looks like we've got it. There we go. All right, and so here we have the red and the blue page in the green book we were warned about. So it's interesting to note that that both of them are agreed on the point that you mustn't touch the green book. But since we're possibly a little suspicious of them, if they're both telling us that emphatically, what the heck? Let's touch the green book. All right, see what it does.
Who the devil are you? Don't come here to Dunny, not yet. Oh, I have many questions for you, my friend, as you no doubt have for me. Where should I begin? Perhaps my story is in order. My name is Atris. I feel you've met my sons, Cirrus and Achenar, in the red and blue books on Myst Island in my library. My library. It contains my works, my writings. Oh, I wrote many books that linked me to fantastic places. It's an art I learned from my father many years ago. Oh, but the red and blue books, those were different. I wrote those books to entrap over greedy explorers who might stumble upon my island of Myst. But I had no idea my own sons would be entrapped. My sons. Cirrus and Achenar. We had many journeys together. I gave them free rein to the books. Perhaps it was not wise. I could see the greed growing in them. I had not told them about the red and blue books. Their imaginations went wild. They dreamed of riches and power. Of course, they did not know the books were traps. They begged me for access to those books, and I, of course, denied them. Oh, they devised a plan. An evil plan. I had no idea to what extent their greed had progressed. Their own mother. Oh, my own dear Catherine. They used her to lure me here to Dunny. Of course, I could return to Myst, except they removed a single page from my Myst linking book. I cannot return without that page. You, my friend, can bring that page to me. Oh, I pray you believe my story above the lies that my sons have told you. If you could find it in yourself to return that page to me here in Dunny, I could go to Myst and bring justice to my sons for what they've done. I must return to my writing. I pray that you believe me. Please hurry. Bring the page. Bring the page with you.
All right. So, as it were, one thinks of the phrase, "been between two extremes, you'll find the truth." So, I'll put this aside. So, we have a missing page, yet another missing page to go after. You notice I kept the cursor away from the window that Atris is speaking to you through. And the reason for that is because Cirrus and Achenar are actually partly correct in that if you go through the book to where Atris is without bringing that page he asked for, you will be trapped there. It's one of the failure conditions for the game. Actually, come to think of it, all three of the failure conditions of the game are represented in this little chamber. So right now we're just going to hit the button, go back to the library. Go. As a matter of interest, Rand Miller, one of the brothers who created Myst, is the fellow playing Atris. He also plays Achenar, oddly enough, and Cirrus is played by his brother Robin, who is also the creator of the music of the Ages of Myst. So this is a time, again, for reuniting clues that you have encountered earlier in the game, and in particular, in Cirrus's room in Channelwood and Achenar's room in Stoneship. You found one half each of a set of instructions about how to access a secret vault of sorts. And it involves the marker switches. So you remember the marker switches are the little switches behind beside every building you throw to make them appear on the map, and we're still missing one, actually. So I'm going to go down here and get it. And then we're going to turn it on so that they're all running. Anyway, now for reasons I don't fully understand, the videos of Cirrus and Achenar in the Red and Blue books are still the original recordings used in the first version of Myst. Okay, now all the marker switches are activated. I can see the whole island. But the ones of Atris in the dock chamber earlier in the game and talking to him through the book there, for some reason I don't understand, that is been re-recorded. Not to put too fine a point on it, Rand Miller's hair wasn't that gray the first time he did it. And I personally preferred his performance the first time. That's just me. Apparently he doesn't actually like acting very much, but he took on the mantle one more time. So the instructions, if you remember, hopefully you wrote them down playing the game, that were torn in half were to turn all the marker switches on, and then turn the dock marker switch, where we are right now, to off. And there you have the missing page. And arguably here you also have the singular sort of flaw in the structure of the game. I mean, I've tried to be fair to point out some of the plot holes and other things that you'll run across in the game going along here, but the fact that all this was apparently built by a couple of people, and I'm struck by the fact that Atris apparently really did not keep a very good eye on his kids. More pointed than that is the fact that, only not knowing how to find that page prevents you from finding the page. There's nothing about the game structure that makes it impossible to just do that as soon as you hit new game. But personally, I find going through the motions and just immersing yourself in the environment is half the fun of this game, so it doesn't distress me too much. Alright, so we're going to go back and again input the pattern 158. There we go. Never been able to figure out if this pattern is supposed to look like anything, but never has it, I've noticed. There we go. All right, away we go.
Have you found the missing page? Come. Come on, then.
Alright. If you stand here and just let him talk, he'll just keep exhorting you to come through, but I think we're ready to go. And welcome to Dunny, or Dunny. Now, where that is and what that means is not really explained in this game. It's part of it building that, again with the pun, the mystique of the world is that there's much that is left sort of unexplained for later. Where is Dunny? What is Dunny? We understand that there's an art to writing these books that Atris learned from his father, but we don't know much about him. And of course the mystery of who is, Catherine. We keep mentioning Catherine, but who is she? It's funny, actually, he calls it Dunny, and the funny little bit of trivia I always thought is they found out after they made the first game that Dunny is also an Australian slang word for a toilet, so ever after they changed the pronunciation in subsequent games to Dunny. It's spelled D''Ni. I just thought that was kind of funny. You also can learn more about it in addition to the subsequent games. Learn about it in the Myst novels that were written subsequently by the creators. Anyway, there's Atris. Let's go have a word with him.
The page. Did you bring the page? Ah, give it to me. Give me the page.
And he'll just continue prompting him if you keep standing there.
I've done the right thing. I have a difficult choice to make.
Ooh.
My sons have betrayed me. I know what I must do. I shall return shortly.
And he will come back in a second. There's a few long pauses in his remarks coming up here, but I think it's cool to have a visualization of what's been happening every time you put a page back in the red and blue books earlier. That was really cool.
It is done.
Didn't take you long.
I have many questions for you, my friend, but my rating cannot wait. I fear that my long delay may have already had a catastrophic impact on the world in which my wife Catherine is being held hostage.
Oh.
Oh, reward. I'm sorry, but all I have to offer you is the library on the island of Myst. The books that are contained there. Feel free to explore at your leisure. I hope your explorations are satisfying. You will no longer have my sons to deal with.
Just wait a moment longer. He'll add something.
Oh, and one more favor. I'm fighting a foe much greater than my sons could ever have imagined. At some point in the future, I may find it necessary to request your assistance. Till that point, you're free to enjoy the exploration from my library on Myst. And thank you again.
Well, you're welcome.
Oh, the book. You can use the Myst linking book to return to Myst.
And after that, you should get just kicked out, because that's all, back to the game world, because that's all he has to say. But by all means, return to Myst, and with that, you've reached the effective end of the game. The game doesn't stop, it just becomes a sort of open-ended exploration at this point. The original game did that. And you can, as he said, explore at your leisure, but you're left with you know, a mystery solved, but more to think about. You know, who is this foe that Atreus is fighting? What's happened to his wife Catherine? Who presumably the foe is the one holding her hostage. And it all makes, and you know, some of the other unanswered questions that I mentioned earlier, all creates again that sense that you're only on the edge of something very grand, and also presents you something to look forward to. As a sequel hook, but in this realMyst version, you also have one more little bonus age to visit. So this is the journal for it. It's called Rhyme. Rhyme was canonically was first mentioned in Myst 4 Revelation, and it's much later in the series. Rather after the time, in my opinion, it had rather jumped the shark, but it's nevertheless has been retroactively added to the game in order to demonstrate some of the things that Atreus seemed to have been doing earlier in previous games that we didn't know how he was doing, specifically observing other ages without actually going to them. So that is, and the access to Rhyme is little more straightforward than some of the other ones, because it is only a bonus age, but it does allow you a little sneak preview to the sequel to Myst, which is Riven. So we won't do that right at the moment. That you can explore that for yourself, or we'll discuss it at another time. Because, as I say, we are effectively at the end of Myst, as it was, and now, and you've seen some of the key differences between the original Myst and realMyst if you're a previous player, and good. I hope a good walkthrough if you haven't. But that is Myst. It's one of the classic adventure games, something very near and dear to me, and prime work of imagination and just sort of grassroots work, because you think of video games as being nowadays produced by great big corporations, and this was two brothers and some colleagues, working basically at home or in somebody's garage to put together a remarkable piece of mystery storytelling and puzzling that is just awesome. So that is the end of this video for now. This is my first Let's Play, so I quite enjoyed doing this, and I hope you've enjoyed that. So thank you very much, and enjoy your explorations. We may see you again another time. Farewell.